Hey machine knitters! If we haven't met, I'm Danielle from loveyourknittingmachine.com, and I'm here today to show you guys how to do a 3x2 ribbing on your knitting machine. Now you'll notice in your book you can do a 1x1 ribbing, you can do a 2x2 ribbing, you can do a 5x5 ribbing, you can do a full needle rib, you can do English rib, you can do half English rib, but it never says that you can do a 3x2 ribbing. It never says you can do a 2x1 ribbing, or a 4x2, or some other combination that you might want to do, or that hand knitters do. So I want to show you guys today how I set up my machine to do a 3x2 rib. Here is my 3x2 rib. You can see it's 3 there, 2 on the back, and I thought this turned out really nice. Now my book says that you can do a 3x3 ribbing or a 4x4 ribbing by doing full needle rib and then transferring stitches. Well, I come get my machine to do a full needle rib, so I started following the directions in my book for a 2x2 rib. So you are going to want to do that with your machine because most machines are just a little bit different. There's just little nuances here and there. So I will show you what I did so that you can figure out how to do it on your machine too. So let's go down to the machine. Okay, so you can see up here on my main bed I have 3 stitches that I started with. I skipped 2. I leave these back to non-working, and then I pulled out 3 again. So I did 3, 2, 3, 2 on the main bed. Now on the bottom bed, I want 2 of them to be up, right? You want these middle 2 that line up right here, that line up with these 2 that are back. So when I set up my machine, it wanted me on P, which means that all the needles are lined up. And it also wanted me on 5 for my machine. And then, so I did set it up with the 2 on the bottom. So then when you change the racking to H and 4 is what my machine tells me to do, then these 2 would be here. You have a couple that are up and they're in between. But when you go ahead and you bring your carriage across with that first row, and then you put your cast on comb on, there aren't enough needles to go that zigzag that you need in order to get it to knit. So what I had to do is I had to use another needle here. So I have a 3rd needle that I've pulled up. So now you'll see that I have a needle on the main bed, the ribbing bed, the main bed, river bed, main bed, river bed, and then it can jump over here to my river bed. My main bed. Okay, so what I ended up with then on the bottom, my 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. And if I go back to my original setup, I had these 2 up. They're directly across from the 2 that are back on my main bed. So I had to choose a needle from the right on all of these groupings. So then when I go back so that I can start my cast on, then it is lined up. It's hard to tell with the camera. So you can see it's lined up, that they're in between the main bed needles. Okay? So now I'm going to cast on the same way that I would with a 2x2 ribbing. So I leave my machine with all plain knitting. So I cast on just as if I was doing a 2x2 ribbing. I have my cam levers at 0. Cam lever at 0. Everything is in plain knitting. Then I'm going to go from right to left. I forgot to tell you on the end, it always says, bring up that your end needle on the river bed. It sometimes tells you need an end needle. So you actually need 2 end needles in this case. So I had a 3, I had my 2 down, and then I needed 2 more up to get that nice zigzag stitch. So you can see this has a really nice zigzag stitch now. And and I can hang my cast on comb. And then we are going to change our machine to do the slip part. So it does the 3 circular rows. So my machine, I push in that button. I change my cam levers to 3. I change my button here to PR, and my bottom gets changed to that. And then I go back. And I do my 3rd circular row. So now we're done with our circular row. We can change our machine back to normal. But we have to do one other thing. So it always says to move your last river stitch over. I'm going to move my last 2 over to the main bed, and my directions say to move this back, to change my machine back to P and 5 up here. So you will see that now these are going to line up better. So now I have my 2 that are right across from here again. So what I have to do is I'm going to move this 3rd stitch over to the main bed. So you want to make sure that you go and you move all these stitches over to the main bed, because these are lined up. You cannot knit on these needles. So on this last one, I'm just moving them over to the 2 end needles. I'm not going to put them both on the same stitch. I don't think that would work well. So then you're just going through and moving your 3rd stitch so that you have a 3 by 2 ribbing. 3 on the main bed, 2 on the river. Okay, we're going to do that all the way across, and then we are set to do as many rows of rib as your pattern calls for. So I hope those instructions were helpful, and I hope that now you can do a 3 by 2 rib on your knitting machine as well. So go ahead and like this video for more just like it, and make sure that you give your knitting machine some love this week.